Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hey, we're getting in the holiday season, and man, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. It was spent on the side of a lake with the whole family. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Had a cabin up in Mississippi. Going to talk with the boys this evening. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start up in the northeast corner of Florida, work our way all the way down the East Coast, through the Keys and up the West Coast and out the Panhandle. We want to know what the fish are doing this week. I know here in northeast Florida, been some funky weather. I can't wait to hear what David Voorhees has to say about how the fishing has been. The Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast is brought to you this week and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature together. By Tournament Master Chum. Oh, it's the best chum on earth, all right. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream vacation. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. By Young Boats. You want the finest in flats, bay, and offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. By the Castaway Hat Company. That's the hat that's helping save our seas. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. And I've got a question for the boys. Gonna play a little Santa Claus tonight. I want to know what they want for Christmas. Of course, it's got to be fishing-wise, and it can't be a new $100,000 sonar that spots billfish at 1,000 feet. We're not getting crazy here. I want to know about the everyday kind of stuff that they would like to see under the Christmas tree. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get the fishing reports. We'll get the Christmas list going up in the northeast corner of the state with Captain David Voorhees. David, how are you?
Hey, Captain Ricky, I'm doing good, buddy.
Good. Did you get enough to eat for Thanksgiving?
Oh, more than enough.
Aha. What's your traditional meal for Thanksgiving?
We did the traditional turkey this year, and we changed this. The only thing we change up is maybe the stuffing, and this year I did a wild rice and pecan stuffing, which turned out really good. But the weather up here seems to have been the story. We've been on this roller coaster of just a lot of wind. We've been getting some moisture, not a lot. We've had overcast days, but nothing really consistent. And more wind, I think, than anything. And our water quality has been really, really dirty up here, Rick. Some of the dirtiest water. For this time of year, we should be talking about the clean, clear, crystal clear, cold waters of northeast Florida, and we're not. And I don't know if this is still left over from the storm or what, but when you get out to the St. Johns River, you'll almost see a real reddish tint to the water. And it's hard to find clean water. But, I do things different in the wintertime. I tend to like to fish the higher tides as opposed to the lower tides. And with the higher tides, I tend to fish up against the grass. And again, at the lower tides, we tend to fish those outer drop-offs and stuff like that. But even with the conditions we've had this week, which to me were not favorable, I mean, we had wind, we had ugly water. But, Rick, the bite was still good. And we're actually seeing some decent trout. There's been some good reports of good trout. Not any numbers, but quality fish. We are getting some good numbers of sheephead. A lot of guys are catching sheephead. And it seems like the key to that is like with any type of fishing, you got to find them. And then once you find them, usually they're concentrated pretty good, around the rocks, the jetties, parts of the river. But the red fishing's been consistent at the high water up against the grass. We got some really nice reds yesterday. And I also like to change from shrimp this time of year I'll go to mud minnows.
Okay.
And yeah, and I like the mud minnows just because I think they put out a little more vibration. They're a little more active. So you get that added attraction, which is vibration with the mud minnows that you don't always get with shrimp.
That makes perfect sense, David. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. My first thought was, wait a minute, we don't have all the little bitty fish around now to eat the legs off of the shrimp. But I guess all things being said and done, a mud minnow's got a lot more action to him than a shrimp does, doesn't he?
He does. And when you put him out there, you can actually feel it on the end of your line. But, a lot of people would look at the weather, like, for example, like Saturday, it was sort of dreary, overcast, a misty type of day. Wasn't a Florida Chamber of Commerce kind of day. But you know what? We went out and we caught fish, and we actually had a good day of fishing.
Good.
So, be careful of trying. Don't go just because the weather's not perfect and it's not sunny and warm and nice like Florida. Don't let that discourage you. Get out there. There's still a lot of really good fishing to be had in Northeast Florida, Ricky.
Gotcha. Great report, David. Hey, David. This is, hold on, I'm going to turn the phone over to Santa Claus. Hello, David.
Okay.
What can I bring you this year, fishing related?
Well, you know what? I'm one of these guys. I've got every gadget you can think of, but the one thing I don't have is that I would like to have, and that's the side scan sonars. I don't have that, and a lot of the guys that are using those, and I know several of the captains who use the side scans, and it's incredible the footage they get and what they're seeing and how they're finding fish. And that would probably be the one thing I don't have in my arsenal that I would like to add to it.
All right. We're putting David down for a side scan. Okay. Sounds great, buddy. Good fishing ahead. Thank you, David. We appreciate it so much. We'll talk with you next week.
All right, Ricky. I'll be here.
You got it. Captain David Voorhees. Our thanks to David Voorhees for a great Northeast Florida report. He wants a side scan for Christmas. Let's check in with one Jimmy Ross in Central Florida. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great. Rick, how are you this week?
Good. I believe you told me off the air that you're sitting at your computer doing a little Christmas shopping. I can't imagine anything much worse than that.
No, that's, it's just not fun. I don't enjoy it at all.
That's why we spend our lives on the water. Tell me how your fishing's been this week.
It's actually picked back up. This new moon has really kind of got the morning bite kicked off, and for some reason, it's actually extending the bite through the day. The tides have been through the mid-morning to middle of the daytime period when the higher stage of the tide has been coming in, and it's kept the bite going pretty much all morning right into the midday period. There hasn't been those big swings and where activity levels swinging way up and then way back down like we had last week and the week before.
Okay, so it's been good and steady. What's been biting?
Well, along the beaches, we're getting snook, redfish, bluefish, ladyfish, jacks, a couple of triple tails starting to show up. There's a couple of flounders starting to show up. So, as these waters cool, we're not doing too bad. We're got a good variety of, good mixed bag of fish, good variety to choose from. And in the lagoon systems, the water's been really high. But once again, it's been pretty productive, especially if you're throwing, some kind of a live bait like a fingerling mullet or a shrimp or even a cut bait up against the mangrove-covered shorelines.
Okay. Up here, Jimmy, we've gotten reports offshore of blackfin tuna and sailfish. You heard anything from down there?
I haven't heard anything from the trolling guys. The party boat, the O out of Port Canaveral, has been whacking the snapper, though. Mangrove and vermilion snapper have been really good, and the guys that are fishing down out of the Sebastian area seem to be throwing some muttons in on top of them as well. For the guys that are bottom fishing, and the bottom fishing was really slow after the storm, after the hurricane came through. But for some reason this week, the waters must have cleaned back up, and the fish are really starting to chew well.
Good, very good. I've also heard good reports on vermilion snapper off Jacksonville, relatively close to shore, within the 30, 40-mile range anyway, which is an improvement how they were last year. Jim, Santa Claus stopped by. Want to know what you wanted for Christmas? I didn't know what to tell him.
Well, I've got everything but a fuel sponsor. I've got about everything else covered, but, man, I don't have a fuel sponsor, and the cost of fuel is eaten into the profit margins these days. So if I could get Santa to drop me off a nice little gas pump and a full tank to go along with it, that would be fantastic.
A nice Sunoco gas card for about $5,000 would be fine, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Yeah,
yes, it would.
I got you. Cap, we appreciate it as always. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
I look forward to it, Rick.
Captain Jim Ross from East Central Florida. Now it's time to check in with my favorite little fishing village, Stuart, Florida, and one Captain John Earhart. John, how are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here, Rick.
Glad to have you, buddy. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was a good Thanksgiving, and ate way too much, and I had plenty of leftovers for my charters the rest of the week.
That'll work. That'll work. Okay. I know you got that big deer to munch on still, too, so you're in good shape. Tell me how your fishing's been.
Fishing's been pretty good. Offshore, we're catching quite a few mahis, a couple sailfish here and there. A lot of nice blackfin tunas, believe it or not. And that's been in about 300 foot of water. And there's been a lot of vermilion snappers around as well. So anywhere from 90 feet out to 350 feet, the vermilions have been pretty easy to come by. So I mean, it's been good action on the top and good action on the bottom as well.
Gotcha. John, I'm starting to work on a theory. I'm not sure I'm right, but I had several friends that had multiple sailfish shots off Jacksonville this weekend, and I'm wondering if that big conglomeration of fish that has been in your area for so many decades, I wonder if it's starting to drift north a little bit with this warmer water.
You might be onto something, Rick.
It sure seems to me that a lot of the times that traditionally I'd be down in Fort Pierce with a cold jacket on, a warm jacket, a cold sky, and trying to huddle up and catch a sail or two. It seems to be happening more up this way, and the problem with that is that it's 60 miles offshore, so we don't get the kind of closeness that you guys do. But anyway, be that as it may, I hope they're headed your way and you're going to have a good season. We'll have to find out. Anything else going on?
Yeah, inshore fishing's been pretty good this week. We're still catching a bunch of snook, a couple trout here and there, a lot of redfish. Ever since they closed redfish down, it seems like we can't get away from them now. So I certainly welcome them, and I don't mind releasing them, so that's not a bad thing. And we've been catching some very large triple tail this week as well. We caught a nice one today that was just over 15 pounds,
Woo! And
that was a big fish. Typically they're 2 to 3 pounds, and most of the time they're not keeper size. But we saw this big 15 pounder floating around out in the open part of the river, and we casted a live shrimp to him, and he scarfed it right up. And about 20 minutes later, we put him in the boat.
Ooh. They are bad, aren't they? I mean, they don't come to the boat easy.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've had pretty good fishing both inshore and off, so if it's too rough to get offshore, fill the live well up with a few dozen shrimp, and you certainly will be able to catch a few fish for dinner and make the best of a bad day if you can't make it out into the ocean when that was your intention.
Excellent. Hey, Santa Claus stopped by my office, asked me about you. He said he hadn't gotten a note from you, wanted to know what you wanted for Christmas.
I guess I'll have to send you my Christmas list.
Yep. What's on your list?
I could use a new set of fishing reels. They're getting a little worn out. Once we get to December, it's almost time to put some new drags in them or replace them.
Okay, for your offshore reels, what do you want?
Offshore? If Santa was being very generous, I'd say tier nose 20s.
Tier nose 20s? Okay. All right. How about inshore?
Inshore, any Shimano 3,000 to 5,000 reel would be just great.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I'll pass that along. That ought to be in the budget, and we appreciate the heck out of it, John. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you next week, and hopefully I'll have some more sailfish action to report.
I hope you do, and I hope you get another big 15-pound triple tail, and nobody down there wants to eat it, so you call your buddy Rick, and you say, hey, you want a triple tail? You could do that. That'd be all right.
I'll drop them off to you.
You got it. Thank you, John. The year was 1953 when one of the true pioneers of big game fishing just hung it up. No, it wasn't any of our podcasters. It was none other than Ernest Hemingway. I just don't want to do it anymore, he's credited with saying. The tackle has become so sophisticated, the fish just don't have a chance. Can you imagine walking him through the aisles of Strike Zone Fishing and showing him the latest and greatest from Shimano? Can you imagine handing him a Saragusa spinner that weighs less than his bait did and could put more torque on a rampaging tuna than the giant old reels of his day? No, Ernest, I'm afraid you left us way too early. The fights with great fish still go on today, and sometimes we still get beat. But if I were a sea monster of your day, I think I'd still rather do battle with you than face the tools that Shimano has stocked in Strike Zone Fishing 68 years later. All right, thanks to John Earhart for a great Stewart report. Now, let's hop on down to Islamorada. Never a bad day of fishing there. How we doing, Captain Beanstorm?
Oh, there might be 1 or 2 days in the year.
Yeah, got to have a few bad ones everywhere, but I'll bet you have less bad ones than anybody else we talk to on a weekly basis.
You know, no comment.
Okay, all right. Sound like you might have had a tough day here lately.
No, we actually have been having some really good fishing down here in the sport fishing capital. Gotta love this time of year, all the variety. I mean, today, for example, we caught some really nice snooks around town. There was some nice breeders. They're doing their fall spawn down here. So we got in on that action really quick. And then once that tide kind of died for that, we headed offshore and caught a bunch of beautiful blackfin tunas on light tackle spinners. And, you know, it's just not a lot of places in the world that in the same day you can go and catch a bunch of quality snooks and then go and catch some tunas for some sushi.
Well, that's for sure. Day. That's for sure. And I got to tell you, Brandon, I talked to John Earhart in Stewart. He said their blackfin bite was very good, and it's very good up here in Jacksonville. I talked to several boats over the weekend that had not great numbers, but 5 or 7, you know, in that area. And Brandon, I got to tell you, almost all of our tunas up here pretty doggone solid. They're not very many of those little hump tunas.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll be looking forward to those soon. We did get 2 or 3 over 20 pounds today.
That's good.
And then the rest were footballs. And yep, it's just, you know, it's still fun catching them on some light tackle spinning rods.
You know, Brandon, it's a lot of fun. You're right. But man, I got to tell you, I have learned over the years that a 25-pound blackfin tuna will feed a lot of people. That is some rich stuff. You can't eat as much as you think you can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Astrid and I just need one loin of a tuna, and we can stretch that to God knows how many sushi rolls. We learn how to hand roll our own sushi.
Hey, I was reading about Astra and her big tuna up north. What was the weight on that fish?
Well, it was almost 200 pounds dressed, fully dressed and cord and whatnot. I'm guessing that the tuna probably weighed around 320 pounds.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, tell me about the food quality of that fish. Tell me about eating bluefin tuna versus blackfin and yellowfin.
So, I don't want to give it away. You have to go watch you have to watch the YouTube episode on Bean Sport Fishing TV. We actually did an exact taste test of bluefin next to blackfin. So you want to check that out.
Well, come on now. You got to tell me which one tasted better. Come on, Bean.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm so surprised, but the blackfin was better. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I mean, the bluefin was good, but for sushi, it was like a little chewy and a slightly gamey, where the blackfin is so soft that, like in sushi, it just melts in your mouth, where the bluefin was a little chewy. However, I know that there are specific ways to get a better piece of bluefin. For example, like maybe letting the meat rest for a few days or whatnot. Certain parts of the tuna as well, of course.
Gotcha. All right, what's been going on besides blackfin and snook?
Oh, well, we've been having a few more reds show up in the backcountry. The Spanish mackerels are starting to get pretty thick as well. The patries have still been really good, and that's just going to get better as the weather gets colder as far as like mutton snapper, a variety grouper like black grouper, red grouper, gag grouper, some yellow jack, some lane snapper and yellowtails, and some hogfish been showing up on the shallow reefs as well. We're getting a few more sailfish trickling down. It's not dynamite, but you can definitely go out there and catch a couple sailfish in a day. We're coming up on a new moon. We had these flat, calm conditions. First and last light of day, people have been catching some wahoo. And still some straggler mahis around, but it's kind of like you randomly run into a set. Luckily, it's not like, hey, we're going to go out there and find mahi today, but there's been some of those around.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you something real quick. When it comes down to Spanish mackerel, you're talking about Spanish mackerel. Have you ever taken a Spanish and used him for salad, just like tuna salad?
I have not, but I've made smoked fish dip out of Spanish mackerel.
No. I'm talking about just like you would make a tuna salad, but make it out of Spanish mackerel. And if Astra ever gets to taste that, she'll be moving to Jacksonville the next day. I'm telling you.
I highly doubt that, but I will tell you this though. While we're on the Spanish mackerel topic, I mean, those Spanish mackerels we get down here in the Florida Bay, they're really big Spanish macks. I mean, they're like 5-7 pounders, and it's so funny. I get people from up north, and they're like, "No, we don't want to catch those Spanish mackerels." I'm like, "Listen, I'm from up north too. These are not those little dink Spanish mackerels that you guys get up there late summer." I'm like, "These are really big fish, and if you close your eyes and eat that Spanish mackerel next to like a zero mackerel." I mean, if you take care of that Spanish mackerel, it is phenomenal fish.
That's right. That's right.
If you bleed them out, you give them a cold saltwater brine. I mean, they're phenomenal fish. You can have it for sushi. You can blacken it. You can smoke it. You can do anything to it. It's real quality fish.
You can sure enough make a tuna salad out of it. I promise you that. And by the way, you're talking about those 6-pound Spanish mackerel. If you tie a 6-pound Spanish mackerel to the tail of a 6-pound kingfish, that kingfish is going for a ride. He's going to drown, by the way.
That's right. And you're using like the same light tackle spinning gear that we're using, the little 3,000, 4,000 reels, 15-pound test, ultralight fast action rod, and get that drag and make it super light. And, oh, man, throwing lures back there when they're all fired up. It's some of the funnest fishing you can do. That's happening right now all the way till, through March. So it's such a blast, and it's something you can do in a half day as well.
You got it. Bean, we appreciate it as always. Hey, real quick, Santa Claus dropped me a note. He wants to know what you want for Christmas. What do you want me to tell him?
Oh, man. some fluorocarbon leader or some troll right jig heads.
Troll right jig heads and fluorocarbon leader. All right, they're on the list, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Take care, Beaner. Captain Bean Storn from down in Alamorada.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalu marine engine oils.
What?
Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalu full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalu marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is a mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to its name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with Menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to you second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. All right, thanks to Brandon Storn for a great Ala Morada update. Now let's move over to 10,000 Islands and check in with one Steve Dahl. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing fine, buddy. I am too fat from Thanksgiving. I mean, my
gas mileage on my boat is not good.
Ooh, it's gonna. If you invite me down, it'll get worse. I promise you.
No, no doubt.
Jeez, man, did I ever eat? All right, talk to me. How's the fishing in 10,000 Islands?
It's good. It's unseasonable, but it's good. And we continue to have these these air temperatures in the mid 80s, and bright sunny skies. Mornings are cool because there's generally like a mist on the water, but that burns off in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it's staying warm, and that means generally snook love that warmer water, and they're sticking around this year. As far back, I don't think I've ever had a bite into early December like we've had, and there's lots of good slot-sized fish around. It's not just these 22, 24 inchers. It's, fishing the upper 20, lower 30-inch range with some fish pushing, mid-30s as well. So they're readily eating pilchards. Bait is abundant, which is good. But that first bite in the morning, I'm telling you, it's a topwater bite, and it has just been going on for a while now. And boy, is it fun! And it's hard not to throw a topwater in the morning under these conditions because it's gonna break in like 2 hours. But we've had overcast mornings for a bit now, and that seems to be the trend with that warmer air temperatures. It's throwing that fog on the water and a little bit of mist. And it doesn't look like that's really. We're not scheduled for a cold front probably for another 7 to 10 days is what we're seeing. So that bite should continue on for everybody. So if you're out this weekend, get the topwaters out. It doesn't have to be rocket science. If you're not versed with the walk the dog cadence, my suggestion is kind of go like with a storm chug bug. You can't. There's nothing you can do with that that's wrong.
Right.
It pops, it spits, things like that avail. It looks like a wounded bait fish. It's a great bait to learn how to do that. You can throw it on lighter tackle, so keep that in mind. But anything with an orange belly or a white belly is working really good. So I don't really care what the top side of it looks like. I just want to know that bottom side is either white or orange right now. So that's what's doing really good on the topwater side, and then. We kind of are moving over. Our bite's kind of slowing down on the artificials just because I think the fishing pressure is starting to pick up a little bit. So we were transitioning from that topwater bite into, paddle tail swim baits, soft jerk baits, getting some stuff, under the water, a little bit down in the water column as the sun came up. But that bite's starting to wane a little bit, and they're readily taking pilchards right now. So, and the bait's everywhere. So this isn't hard.
Good deal. Easy fishing. We like easy fishing.
It is. It's been really good, and it's welcomed at this time of year. Usually we're red fishing this time of year. There's some big bull reds offshore right now, but they're moving around, and they're hard to go and target day to day. So if your buddy said he got on them, more often than not, he was probably fishing a nearshore wreck, and they just happened on him. So, keep that in mind if you're starting to hear that dock talk around the area about, these big bull reds offshore. It's certainly happening, but to actually go out and target them is a different story because they're constantly moving. So it's not really much of a pattern.
Gotcha. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Santa Claus sent me a note, said he hadn't received a word from you. Wanted to know if I knew what you wanted for Christmas.
Well, I'll get a little sentimental this year. I'm pretty blessed. I went through a pretty catastrophic hurricane this year, and I lost my mom back in the summer, and I lost my aunt this year as well. I'm just blessed. I just don't want any more negative. That's kind of what I want for Christmas. I'm looking forward to 2023. I've never been that type of guy who wants to turn the page from year to year and get a new start or beginning. But I think I'm going to cash that in this year and, look forward to, what 23 has to bring. Hopefully some positive, a little bit more positive things than what I experienced, So that's kind of first and foremost for me. Santa's really ambitious this year. I wouldn't mind. I'm single, so I wouldn't mind him sending me somebody.
Okay, all right, hold on. You want me to start the list at Carrie Underwood and let him go from there? Will that work?
I can't because everyone that listens to this podcast or has known you as long as we all have knows that Carrie Underwood has already spoken for us. I can't do that. I can't do that to you, and I think she would be crushed. I think she's going to be happier with you than me.
I'd be happy for you, brother. I just want to hear the stories. I'd be happy for you. I got to be honest with you, Steve, and I told my kids this. We had our family Christmas, ironically, over the Thanksgiving weekend, which we do every year. We have a big family reunion, and I wrote a note to Santa Claus and dropped him a Starbucks card and said, look, don't come down the chimney. Okay. The house is way too full of way too many blessings. There is too much love. There's too many good times. How about you take this Starbucks card and you and the reindeer go have a cool latte on me, and you can please go give my presents to somebody else. I've got too much already.
That's it. That's really it. I mean, you got to look at the positives in life, and we're all pretty blessed, especially to be able to be in this industry. So
how about this? I've got 9 grandkids, and all of them wanted to spend their Thanksgiving at the cabin with Grandma and Grandpa. You can't beat that, can you?
That's a blessed man right there.
Hey, you ain't wrong, Cap. We appreciate it. We will talk to you next week.
Be well.
Thank you, Steve. You too. Captain Steve Dahl from 10,000 Islands. I'll bet you don't even remember the days that all us cool kids would rub baby oil mixed with iodine to help us get even darker in the summertime. Being burnt was cool, and even if you weren't a surfing legend, you sure looked the part. Oh, man, if a bunch of us old guys paid the price for our vanity. We never knew the skin problem and health damage that awaited us. Today's fishermen have the options of being so much healthier in the sun than we ever thought of. Thanks in no small part to the Castaway Hat Company, who not only provides our podcasters with Castaway straw hats, but they make the coolest prints on the underside of the brims you ever saw. You may think your bimini top or T-top blocks the sun, but as an awful lot of us OGs can tell you, you can't have enough protection from sun damage. Do what we do. Put on the sunblock and put on your Castaway straw hat. You'll look the part of today's best anglers, and you'll even be helping the environment. That's because for each Castaway hat sold, the Castaway Company is going to pay to have 1 pound of trash removed from our waterways. The burning Florida sun won't be raced in your skin, and believe me, when you age a few years, you'll thank us old guys with a lifetime on the water. So go to CastawayHatCo.com and get your best sun protection today. The Castaway Hat Company. They've got a hat for every adventure. Our thanks to Steve Dahl, and you know what? A special thanks for his wonderful Christmas wish. I agree with him 100%. Santa, you go take the presents to somebody else. My year's been way too wonderful as it is. Let's check in with one Ray Markham from West Central. Raymond, how are you?
Doing pretty well.
Good. I'm
trying to work off turkey and all that kind of good stuff.
Woo, son, I did some eating. Oh, man. I mean, I've got all these daughter-in-laws and daughters and granddaughters and all this. Ray, I can't hurt their feelings. I got to eat whatever they bring, don't I?
sometimes you got to take one for the team.
That's it. That was me. I was brave. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
I was way beyond full. Tell me about your fishing. How's it been?
Well, did a little bit of fishing. We had some holiday stuff going on, so I didn't get out as much as I wanted to, but still, tried to do a little looking upstream, if you will. With cooler weather headed this direction, and the days getting shorter, I was real curious to see, first off, where snook were moving, how far up the rivers and creeks and whatnot they went. And I did pretty much find out that, it went as much as 5-6 miles upriver, and you're catching snook. You're catching snook all the way up the river. But the thing is, it seemed like the further I got up the rivers, the smaller the fish got.
Okay.
Only one fish was over slot, 17 fish under slot. And all of them caught on 2 lures, the D.O.A. shrimp and the cow shad. And, I guess it is what it is. I mean, I did not fish in open water on points and whatnot on the flats, but our air temperatures here have been running up close to 80 degrees in the last, several days. We've had some cooler nights, but still, I think the length of days are shortening, and these fish are realizing that over whatever the water temperature is in the locations that they're at. We just haven't had any kind of real cold fronts come through. We had a little cool front there for a while, but nothing to speak of. Along with it, I found a little bit surprising that I was catching a lot of juvenile redfish, undersized redfish, right along with the snook. So I found that kind of interesting, because a lot of years I would find redfish out on the flats, even into the 40-degree temperatures that we'll often get in the wintertime. So could be they're spreading out. Could be that a lot of those fish were, less than a year old or right at about a year old, and perhaps they ran up the rivers after the spawns and just kind of hung out. But interesting. Any fishing I did out in deeper water, out in the bays, trout fishing was okay. Wasn't great, but there again, we had a lot of water on the days that I was fishing, the times, and the fish have a tendency to spread out. We get some cold fronts, which I think we really do need, and you'll see some lower water, and you'll see some fish just ganging up in holes. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that's on the way. It seems to get a little later every year. Seems like we're warmer in November and colder in February is the way I see it. But change is constant. We know that. Hey, what do you want for Christmas?
Well, I know what I want, but it's not going to be necessarily what I'm going to get.
Well, what is that? What do you want?
I'm going to have a word with Santa and see if I can do it. But actually, I'd love to get a Little John boat, maybe around 16 feet.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to some of my roots of freshwater fishing, because heading up a lot of those creeks and rivers kind of brings back old memories of when I used to do a lot of bass fishing, and there's nothing better than an old John boat as far as I'm concerned. So I'll probably get one of those one of these days and find another place to put another boat in the yard.
Ray, you said so much, and I went through the exact same thing last year. Found a little Ginu that nobody had used in 10 years and bought it, and for the exact same reason. I wanted to go up a creek. I wanted to throw one of the smallest gold rapalas they make under a tree. I wanted to twitch it. I wanted to see that bam. And I love that.
That's funny you said that, because just within the last couple of weeks or so, I did go out and get some brand new old rapalas.
Yep.
One of the first rapalas I ever threw was the original balsa wood rapala, and I'll tell you something. There was nothing like it. I threw it on bait casters, and I will do it out of my Ginu as well.
but just don't find yourself up your creek with that Ginu without your paddle.
You got that right. Captain Ray, we appreciate it so much. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
You betcha.
You got it. Captain Ray Markham from West Central Florida. Academy Sports and Outdoors' mission is to provide fun for the whole family by carrying all the best gear from top brands including Columbia, Yeti, Costa, Penn, Shimano, and so many more at prices that you're going to love. Whether you're planning on spending the day at the beach, hosting the friends in the backyard, reeling in a big fish, or gearing up for the game, Academy has a wide assortment of sports and outdoor products that will guarantee you that you're going to have fun out there. Hey, Academy has just opened their new store in Panama City, and look out, Tampa, here they come. You're next on the list. It's a dynamic and fun shopping experience while also offering convenient options such as buy online, pick up in-store, and free shipping on most online orders over $25. When shopping at Academy, customers are going to be able to take advantage of some great in-store services. How about they'll assemble your grill for you or your bike? How about scope mounting, bore sighting, line winding and spooling, propane exchanges? They've got the pros to get it done and the ability to purchase hunting and fishing licenses. With Academy's best price guarantee, if you find a better advertised price anywhere, not only will Academy match it, but they'll beat it by 5%. Until the new store in Tampa opens, you can shop online at academy.com or through Academy's mobile app. You can sign up for email alerts, receive digital ads, offers, and exchange with Academy's social media accounts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. It's time to head on up to Homosassa and check in with the mayor himself. Mr. Mayor, are you with us?
I am here standing on the edge of the beautiful Homosassa River watching the sunset after a fine day of hard winter fishing.
Well, I'm so glad because I was setting up to do the podcast, and I'll be darned, there was a knock at the door, and it was a friend of yours, and she wanted to know if she could speak to you on the air. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Did you hear that? Okay,
I heard it.
Sweetheart, tell him again. There, okay, that's what she wanted to tell you.
Oh, well, it sounds like a deer or something. I don't know.
That's
I'm trying
exactly
to.
what
I
it
don't.
is.
I know.
Dude,
I know they're out there.
That's my best doe call. That's the best doe call I got.
Well, I'm going to tape record that. What I'll do is replay this the whole time I'm in my tree stand next week.
There you go.
But but yeah, I was going to tell you, it's fall here in Florida because all the license tags have changed colors. So we got the fall is here and lots of folks in town.
Yep, lots of Massachusetts. Tell me about your fishing. How's it going for you?
It's going good. Now here on the Big Bend. Trout bite has been excellent, and what you want to do to find where the trout are, move into the deeper outside creeks. They're not in the river. It's been too warm. In fact, I saw bull sharks out in the Gulf today. So our temperatures back up into the high 70s out there. But your deeper creeks, that run in that have near the mouths have a deeper swash, about 7 to 10 feet, using just the jig near the bottom and catching some very nice trout. In fact, caught a couple pompano the day, which is a bonus because, they usually start showing up around December. So it seems like everything's on par. But right now, what's going on, you're in your last month of keeper gag grouper, and the guys have been getting them pretty good on plugs, starting 8 feet. Now, the bigger fish have been coming out 18 to 20 feet. But if you want to get that one on a casting plug, 8 foot to 10 foot is the range.
Gotcha. All right, there ain't nothing wrong with that. And when does that close?
Now, the end of December is the last day for gag grouper, and rumor has it next year we're going to get about 2 months out of it in one fish. So, I don't know if that's for true yet or holding true yet, but I do know that's going to affect a lot of our offshore captains and everything, because that's going to be pretty tough for someone to pay that kind of money to run out for one fish.
I don't know what the answer is. I know on the East Coast, our gag numbers are way down. So,
Right.
do you feel like you're starting to see a drop off in gags? Is it time for action?
What I feel about it is there's a lot more people targeting them.
Right.
And if it takes, a 2-month season and one fish per person to get it back up to where it's just phenomenal, I'm all for it. But, it seems to be, that there's a lot of short fish that are under the 24-inch size. And I've heard all kinds of different ideas. I've even heard one of the offshore captains say, they should just keep it at 2 fish, and you're allowed to keep one at 20 inches, because he says a lot of times you hook some of them fish like that and they die. And then everybody's targeting the big ones, which, of course, a bigger gag is more meat. And so, there's different ways to look at it. But if that's what's got to happen, then, I guess that's what we got to do. You got to preserve the fishery. So, here we got a lot of structure on the Big Bend, and gag grouper is one of our big pool, and a lot of people come from all over the state to get in on it. So we've experienced a lot more pressure. So, that could be one of the main things. Other than that, what they could do is ban GPSs for 5 years. You're not allowed to have them in your boat, and then they'd be so thick out there, you could just catch them on a cane pole.
I'm going to tell you what, I could survive without a GPS. I know a lot of boats that couldn't. And the only reason I could survive is because I'm old. I learned with a compass and a stopwatch in a bleach bottle.
Yep.
We would run our time and our course till we figured we were right on our spot. We'd throw a jug and we'd start hunting off of it. And
that's how my grandfather did it. I remember going with him, and he would run out to marker number 2 at a Homosassa, run a 270 for 15 minutes at wide open, and shut down and start looking.
Yep. Those were good times. We caught a lot of fish. William, we've so appreciated your reports all year. Thank you so much. Are you done with your hunting now, or are you still at it?
No, I'm still at it. I won't get the fish. I'm going to be in New Orleans next week at the Restore America's Estuaries Conference there in New Orleans to talk about our new aquatic seagrass preserve we helped create in the state here off of the Big Bend area, which really runs from Crystal River all the way down to Ankle Key, 735 square miles of now protected seagrass that has a mantle of protection the same as any Florida outstanding waterway. So that's good. We need that for, our fishery here. So, things like that, and maybe, slowing it down a little bit with the scalloping and saving a few gags. You give it a couple years and things rebuild, and it could be a fantastic fishery.
William, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a bunch of East Coast guys that wish you lived over here. Because, man, oh, my gosh. You just look at Stuart, William. I used to wade grass flats that were miles long. I mean, you'd get somebody to drop you off at one end of a grass flat, pick you up 4 hours later at the other end, and you walked steady, and you threw constantly all the way, and it was all grass. All that's gone. You go there now, sand bottom. Nothing but.
It is. And I remember the first time when, you and I kind of had first met at the D.O.A. Outdoor Riders events there 10, 12 years ago. And the first time I went out on the Indian River, I looked at near Bear Point and that area. It reminded me of home, that big, thick turtle grass growing on that tide, and trout, mullet jumping everywhere. It was great. And within that 12-year time frame, it just disappeared.
Completely disappeared. And you know what they've got stacked up down there now?
There's probably lettuce to feed the manatees.
Dead manatees. Yep. The manatees are starving to death. And now the problem is, even if you fix the bottom, even if you get the water straightened out, the manatees are eating the grass as fast as it could ever come up.
Yeah.
And they actually took a fence, put it around a small area, and the grass started growing. But, because the manatees couldn't get through the fence. But somehow we have gotten the whole thing way out of balance, and we got to fix it. We got to put it back. And, William, I want to thank you for all our listeners for going to that conference next week, and we can't wait to hear what you learn over there.
Yeah, I can't wait myself. I can't wait to go see New Orleans. I'm going to have me a Cafe Mundo beignets and some hot
come
coffee.
on now. Come on now. Go to Mother's for breakfast for me, will you?
I will. I absolutely will.
Right, thank you, William. Hey, it's finally fall, and how many of us have been waiting for the magic of the mullet run to start? There are literally miles of mullet moving along just about every area of Florida coastline. What you need to cash in on the tarpon, snook, reds, trout, sharks, etc. that are feeding on the poor fingerlings is the perfect mullet imitation. Well, for my money, you can skip all the high-dollar made-in-China mullet imitators. For me and all the podcasters I've talked with, the perfect mullet imitation is made right here in Stuart, Florida, and it's the D.O.A. Bait Buster. Mark Nichols, the owner and manufacturer of D.O.A., spent years designing different bait busters to swim shallow, medium, or deep. What makes the bait buster so special? I'll tell you what I think. I think it's the tail. If your bait buster is moving, the tail is flapping. No predator can stand that tail flapping in his face. The D.O.A. Bait Buster. It's the perfect mullet run bait. Our thanks to William Toney for a great report. He's got pretty good gag grouper fishing, and he's headed to a conference to learn more about how we can preserve our seagrass. Now, let's head out to the Panhandle real quick and wrap it up tonight with one Captain Tyler Massey. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing good, Rick. How are you guys?
We're doing excellent, buddy. We had a great Thanksgiving. How about you and your family?
Oh, yeah, same over here for sure.
Everybody got plenty to eat. All right, tell me how your fishing's been.
So fishing's been, it's been pretty good actually. Sometimes this time of year it can be hit or miss. With the weather and whatever else we got going on. But, for the most part, we've been sticking to inshore fishing. A few trips, fishing close bottom fishing, and that's been pretty good. But we'll start out inshore. In the wintertime in our area, the speckled trout move from, the grass into the canals and up the river and the deeper parts. And the bite's been pretty good. You can go to almost any of the canals and centers of town and catch good numbers of trout. They're just mostly on the smaller side. So, throwing artificial lures, something like a D.O.A. shrimp or, a jerk bait or a mirror lure, mirror dean, something like that has been working really well. A lot of fish, just not very many keeper size or big fish, but it's good action and good fun for sure.
It is, Tyler. And once again, it ought to teach us all a lesson. When all the fish are undersized, that tells us that we're harvesting an awful big percentage of the fish that make it up to legal limit, right?
Yep. I mean, it would make sense if that happens for sure.
Yep. I know it. What have you heard from offshore?
So offshore, the close bottom fishing, we've been fishing within, 15 miles or so. We got a lot of wind, got a lot of cold fronts. It hasn't been the nicest weather offshore, but a lot of vermilion snapper fishing, and that's going to be on the bigger wreck. And we're fishing, the market fish is usually up off the bottom a little bit. So we're fishing a 2-drop rig with cut bait. You're going to drop it to the bottom and reel up a little bit off the bottom, and that's where we're, marking our vermilion snapper. That's where we're catching those the best. Another thing that we've been, that we talk about a lot in the wintertime, it's a species, we catch all year is redfish. The redfish bite has continued to be excellent. I've talked about the big schools in the middle of the bay, and those are still popping up some. But we've got some weird thing going on where there's a wreck, close wreck at the sunken battleship in the Gulf, outside of Pensacola Pass, and the redfish have been absolutely just loaded on this thing. You can go there and catch 25 to 30, mostly either upper slot or over slot redfish, and it's just fishing live baits on the bottom or fishing a jig on the bottom. It's 25 foot of water, about 2 miles from our pass, and it's just been crazy. The redfish are just stacked on there. It's like they're not in our pass or in the bay right there. They're just all out there in the Gulf sitting on this wreck. Oh,
that's cool. That's way cool because you can reach that on less than perfect weather days, can't you?
Oh yeah, especially north wind, sneak out there in the bay boat. It's no problem at all. But it's really been unbelievable. It's been pretty good for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it just seems like they're probably not going to be here tomorrow, and they just keep showing up. So our redfish have been piled up on that wreck, and then also over on the Destin area, I heard they've got a better jetty fishery there. They're catching a lot of jetty or redfish on their jetties and a few sheephead as well. So between the fishing close to the Gulf and fishing out there in the Gulf and ours, the redfish have just been on fire.
Gotcha. Hey Tyler, what do you want for Christmas?
Oh, there's a lot of things, but as far as a fishing item go, it's always good to get some, new fillet knives or some new pliers, some terminal, or some accessories and stuff like that. So that's always what I tell people to bring me.
Who makes your fillet knife? Who's your favorite?
I mean, I'm a Dexter Russell guy. Just
Yeah.
keep it simple. It's the cheapest one. When it wears out or breaks, whatever, throw it away and get another $10 one. So I stock up on the Dexter Russell. I don't get too fancy with it.
Yep, I'm with you. Now, I'll give you a piece of advice, though. If you will look, some of the Dexter Russells are imports, and some of them are made here in the USA. The ones that are made here in the USA are more expensive, but, man, you can bring that edge back 100 times.
Oh, yeah, we'll look for that for sure.
Do it. Thanks, Cap. I look forward to checking with you next week, if that's okay.
Yep, I'll be here. We'll see
Okay, Captain Tyler Massey from out in Destin, Florida. Hey, it's been a fun trip around the state tonight. I got to be honest with you. I like Steve Dahl, and I agree with him 100%. Santa, you can take the night off when it comes to coming to my house. I'm such a blessed man that I don't need another thing. Got a great boat, got a great family, got a great wife, got a great dog, got the world's best dog, Elvis the Labrador Retriever. Wish you could all meet him. All right, as we roll into Christmas, tonight we heard good things about tuna, blackfin tuna all around. I was thrilled to hear that Bean Storin let us in that blackfin tastes better than bluefin, even though bluefin is so highly prized as a restaurant fish. And good news on undersized reds. We're seeing undersized reds everywhere. They're seeing them on the West Coast. We're seeing them here on the East Coast. Obviously, the conditions were just right for the redfish to spawn last year, and we're seeing the results of it. All that does is help ensure better fishing in our future. Okay, until next week, for Florida Sportsman Magazine Live, I'm Captain Rick Riles, and we will see you on the rip.